Humorous Extravaganza contest. Economy's down, prices are up. Who does not need a good laugh these days? And so we are excited. A Taste of Success. We're an advanced club. We are excited, elated. All right, busy. And so we are elated to get started this morning. Thank you all so much for joining us. And I am going to turn this over to our Master of Ceremony, our MC, our host with the most. He's been a past district director. He's a friend. He's just an all-around great guy. And that is passing the baton to Mr. Dan Arbuckle. Take it away, Dan.
Thank you very much, Andre. A little bit of housekeeping real quick since we're a little bit behind time. We're going to do a contest and the general evaluation portion of a meeting today. So each contestant will come up, give a 5 to 7 minute speech, bring smiles to our faces and belly laughs all the way up from our belly. There'll be a minute of silence between each speaker. We'll then do any prop shuffling we need to do. All but one of our speakers are in the room. We do have one speaker that will be on Zoom. At the end of our speakers, we'll go into a 10-minute break, at which time the judges will complete sending in their ballots, as in a normal contest. Madam Contest Master Joanne, have all of our judges been briefed and are currently present?
They have all been briefed. I am not sure if they are all present.
Okay. I will work on that for you.
There's two that I'm not sure if they're in person or not.
Can you describe them so nobody will know who they are? If there are judges in the room that know they're judges, keep it to yourselves, but tell me if you're not here.
Do they have Joanne's cell number?
Yeah, and from the briefing, they can all get a hold of you, so we should be good to go, I'm assuming. Is that correct?
That's correct. And I should, yeah, I can text them too to make sure.
Okay.
That's right. So.
Thank you very much. That 10-minute break will give them time to turn those ballots in so that we will know the results of our contest. Immediately after that break ends, Barb Grenade will come up and be the general evaluator, and each of our contestants will have an evaluation so that they can apply these speeches today to a project in Pathways. After that, we'll do interviews, announce our winners. I'll hand it back off to Andre, and he'll tell us a little bit about wrapping the day up and a taste of success. With no further ado, we have selected our speaking order. I will introduce our speakers and ask them to come up or turn their cameras on in the case of Kathy. One more time, our first speaker is Rebecca Garcia Cook. Her speech title is 8, 10, 12, or 8, 10, 12. Rebecca Garcia Cook.
Prior to having children, I had zero experience in parenting. But all that changed in 8, 10, and 12. I had 3 kids. And my life has never been the same. My life has never been the same. And there were challenges that I faced in each of those. The very first challenge I faced with my 2008 child was birth. Okay, I'm not going to tell you a story about birth. It's simply that having a child required that I now named that child. And I found naming a child very difficult. Having a baby, not a problem. That was relatively easy. But giving a child the name that they were going to walk through life with, that was difficult for me. And so I wanted a name that gave a sense of strength, a sense of determination, a sense of commitment, something that he could carry with him. And a name quickly rose to the surface. The name Will was a name that spoke to my heart. And as I started to run through all the different ways Will would live his life, a moment in his future came to mind. A moment that I hoped he would stand in a room, a church draped in white, And as he tenderly looked at the eyes of his beloved, he would make the ultimate commitment. And he would stand in front of God and all the witnesses, and he would say, I will cook. We decided to name him Thomas and not Will. Now, after birth, there's other questions that you have to answer. And one of the questions we had to answer as a family was, what are we gonna do about the big red guy? You know the one I'm talking about. He's got a belly that's like jelly. What do you do about him? And not only what do you do about him, but what do you do about the Easter Bunny? What do you do about the Tooth Fairy? What do you do? And so I had to ask myself the question, okay, Santa, we decided no. Easter Bunny, we didn't do the Easter Bunny. But I kind of like the Tooth Fairy. And so we convinced our children that there was a Tooth Fairy. And so when my oldest lost his teeth, he would put them under his pillow and he would get his daughter. But my 2010, she didn't buy it. And when she turned 6 years old and she lost her first tooth, she questioned us. There's no Santa, Mom. There's no Easter Bunny. I don't think there's a Tooth Fairy. And I said, well, why don't you put your tooth under? I think it's you, Mom. Well, put it under, let's see what happens. And so I knew she was waiting. I knew she was waiting to see if someone would come into her room that night. And so I didn't come in that night. Instead, I got up early the next morning and I crept into her room, she's on the bunk bed, and I quietly reached my hand underneath her pillow. And I found a crinkly paper bag. Crinkle, crinkle, crinkle. And all of a sudden, this little brown head with piercing brown eyes shoots forward and she looks at me and says, you. I knew it was you. I was caught. We had our third child in 2012. And I am very thankful that he was my last child because he was perfect. He was so perfect. He slept through the night. He ate anything you gave him. He didn't have all the childhood problems that my other kids had had. And I'll tell you what, if he had been my first, I would have been convinced that I was the best parent ever. He potty trained himself by himself before 10 and before 08 by himself. He was perfect. But there was a dark side to this perfect child, a side that we were unaware of. And we started to notice in our trash can that there were candy wrappers that would suddenly appear. Now, our candy bowl was not easily accessible. It was on the third shelf in the kitchen, and it had a screw-on lid. Which of our children was getting into it? Surely it was 8, or surely it was 10. But there's no way that a 2-year-old could get that. And so one day, we started to watch, and we realized that this little 2-year-old child had walked into the kitchen, and he walked over to the kitchen table, which was a good ways across the room, and he took a chair, and that little child pushed it all the way over to the cabinet, and then he climbed up on the chair and up on the countertop, opened the door, pulled out the container, 2, opens it, takes out the candy, puts it in his pocket, puts the lid back on, closes it, puts it back up, closes the door, climbs down, takes the chair, puts it back away, opens his candy, pops it in his mouth, takes the wrapper, and throws it in the trash. What kind of genius did I birth? 2 years old. 2 years old. So my 8, 10, and 12 years. 2008, 2008, 2008, 2010, and 2012 were life-changing for me. I had zero experience parenting, and yet today I have a cumulative of 37 years experience in parenting. I'm stepping into the new life phase of teenagers. I have a 13-year-old daughter now, and I have a student driver, and I also have content for my next speech.
Thank you very much. Our next speaker is Darren Yarbrough. Darren, would you please come up? Darren Yarbrough, Time Flies. Time Flies, Darren Yarbrough.
Thank you very much. Time flies when you're having fun. Fellow Toastmasters, honored guests, I love to travel, and I especially love to fly. But the only time I really get to fly is every other year when my job sends me to work at a one-week convention. Oh, it's an amazing experience. And every time I promise that I will do everything in my power to have as much fun as I possibly can. It is amazing in so many ways. So this year, as I was preparing to go, I was scheduling my flights, part of my favorite part of the trip. And on the return flight, I noticed that I had the option to go through Charlotte, North Carolina. If you've never been to Charlotte, North Carolina, put it on your bucket list. It is one of the most beautiful airports in the country. Freshly renovated, bright, colorful shops, and a long line of rocking chairs where you can sit back, sip your coffee, and watch the world go by. I thought, that's for me. I only had one concern, and that was that the layover was only 53 minutes. I thought, 53 minutes, I can still see a few things and make my flight. What could possibly go wrong? Well, the wonderful week came, and all too soon it was over because time flies when you're having fun. But still, I had one highlight on my journey back. That was my layover in Charlotte. I arrived at the airport 6 hours early. I'm not gonna miss my flight. As I'm walking through the airport, I see people here and there running to catch their flights. And I think, oh, glad that's not me. Finally, the time came, and I walked up to the gate, and it said, 30 minutes to boarding. And I thought, I'm ready. I've got my boarding pass, I got my luggage. I'm only missing one thing, an airplane. 25 minutes to boarding, 20 minutes to boarding, 15 minutes to boarding, and still, no plane. At this point, the people around me are starting to get a little bit nervous. I try to lighten the mood and say, hey, it's okay. Maybe we're flying with Wonder Woman, because she flies that airplane that nobody can see. 10 minutes to boarding, 5 minutes to boarding, 1 minute to boarding, and still, no plane. At this point, I'm thinking time might be the only thing flying here. Just then, around the corner came the prodigal plane. It hooked up to the gate, and I thought, great, here we go. And then it dawned on me, that's right, there are people on the plane. They got to get the people off the plane. They got to get their luggage off the plane. They got to fuel the plane. They got to put our luggage on the plane. They got to put us on the plane. As you can see, my 53-minute layover is dwindling fast. I try not to think about it too much. I got on the plane, enjoyed the flight, the beautiful scenery outside, the beautiful clouds beside me, the beautiful mountains below me. Finally, we landed in Charlotte, North Carolina. And the captain came on and made this announcement.
Ladies and gentlemen, I am pleased to announce that we have made up some time in the air. We will be connecting with our gate shortly.
I thought, great, okay, I've got 30 minutes before my flight takes off. That's enough time to see a few things, right? But all hopes of that vanished when he came back on and said,
Ladies and gentlemen, I am sorry to report that the tower has given our gate away to another plane. We're waiting for another gate to be assigned.
So finally, by the time we connected with our gate, it was 18 minutes until my flight took off. And it was a 13-minute walk to the gate. I told my story to the people around me. They felt pity on me and let me stand up in the aisle. And as the minutes ticked away, the people around me started to get tense. I tried to lighten the mood a little bit and say, hey guys, If you look out on the runway later and you see some guy chasing a plane, it's probably me. Finally, the door of the plane flung open. A guy behind me yelled, "Run, Forrest, run!" And without missing a beat, I said, "I'm a running." Out the plane, down the tunnel, around the corner. At this point, it's a 13-minute walk to my gate, and the flight takes off in 10 minutes. I'm gonna have to run. Now, there are a few things you should know about me. I know you're looking at me and saying, "Now there's the body of a long-distance runner." Throughout the years, I've done a lot of workouts. I've done weightlifting. I've done bicycling. I've done walking. But the last time that I did running on a consistent basis, Bush was in the White House. The first Bush. I'm thinking, do I even remember how this goes? Running's a little bit like skipping, right? No, that's not it. No. It's like a fast walk. I keep picking my feet up higher and higher, and before long, my big feet were flapping down the airport. Flop, 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 flop. Then came the shortness of breath. Flump, 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 flump. And you know, all the people in front of me just parted out of the way. At first, I thought they were being nice. Then it dawned on me, they were afraid. What would you do if you're walking along and you hear something behind you going, flump, 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 Well, finally, I made it to my gate where the people were blithely unaware that my flight had been delayed and were preparing to close the gate. I slipped in through the door, down the tunnel, and made it to my seat with a whole 2 minutes to spare. As I sat there, I thought to myself, well, at least now I have a funny story to tell. And so I do. And the reason that it's a funny story and not a sad story is because of a promise that I made to myself at the beginning of the journey, that I would do everything in my power to enjoy every part of the journey as much as possible. And it seems to me that that's a good rule for life. Because really, time flies, whether you have fun or not. I say, we might as well have fun. Contest master.
Our next speaker is Kathy Draper. Coach Client Chronicles, Kathy Draper.
4 years ago, after losing 100 pounds, I made a decision to become a fitness coach and get into the health and wellness industry because it really fascinated me and it helped me continue on my journey. I learned so much getting my personal training certifications and nutrition certifications. But the place where I have learned the most has actually come from my clients and members from the gym. I'd like to take you on that journey and share with you some of the tools that I've learned from them. When I first started out, I was working for Jenny Craig, which is a weight loss company. I had this one client named David. For some reason, on a regular basis during our consultations, he would share with me that he was going commando. Just to clarify, nowhere have I ever asked him about his undergarments. And we really don't discuss clothing unless perhaps you had a week where you didn't weigh in and we ask about, are your jeans fitting better or not? But never whether you're wearing undergarments or not. One fateful day, I hand David his food for the week. He walks out to the car and as if in slow motion, his pants fall to the ground. Thank goodness this one time I was glad my client had been lying to me. But one of the first tools is always on your journey, be sure you're wearing well-fitting clothes or at least get a belt. Tip number 1. As I started getting into more personal training, I found that I get to know people because you spend a lot of time with them. I was working at Planet Fitness. And in there we have a 30-minute circuit where you do a little bit of cardio and then you do some strength training. And in a little group environment, the ladies talk a lot. It was mostly ladies in my group. So one day we're working out and I'm asking how things went the night before. And Dana shares with me that she had an ice cream sundae for dinner the night before And then the night before that. I'm a little concerned about this, so I asked her if she'd had any protein. Why, yes, she said. I had peanut butter cookies. Okay, just to clarify, when I said protein, peanut butter's got a little bit of protein, but it's actually a fat, and it really isn't a protein when it becomes a cookie. I know nutrition can be so confusing. One person's vegan over here, one person's carnivore. We have to go to the opposite extreme, of course. What's so bad about moderation? And now we have intermittent fasting. Yay, we now have something to call skipping breakfast. I know it can be really confusing, but it can be simplified. One of the things you need to look at is foods are neither good nor bad, nor do they make you good or bad. But there are foods that have kind of what I'll call a health halo. Let me give you an example. Who here can agree that almonds are a healthy food? A quarter cup of almonds is 200 calories. A cup of almonds is 800 calories.
Wow.
Do you realize that that is more fat and calories than a Big Mac? Yes, a Big Mac. Would you like fries with that? It can be really confusing, but what's important is to look at quality and quantity together. And then when it comes to exercise, if I had $1 for every time somebody walked in with a ample tummy, I don't know, we'll call that a beer belly, Buddha belly, something like that, and asked me, what's the magic machine that'll help me get rid of this? Well, we don't have that machine. I hate to be the bearer of bad tidings, but one machine is not going to take care of that. We need to go back to that quality and quantity and look at a better way to exercise. I know some of you may have heard that you can't spot reduce, but has anybody ever explained to you why that doesn't work? The ab muscles are little tiny muscles. So if you exercise with those, you're only going to burn a few calories. The key is to work the big muscles, like your back, and your legs. Stop skipping leg day. You need to work the bigger muscles, even better compound exercises, which are the exercises where you use lots of muscles, like push-ups, squats, things like that, so you're burning more calories. And then with the quality and quantity, put them together, and that brings our abs out of the fitness protection program. They can now come out of hiding. And ladies, I'm going to cover this with you. Please understand that weights are not going to cause you to get bulky. What's going to make you bulky is cupcakes. So put the cupcakes away. Let's get out the weights more frequently. The people that you see in bodybuilding competitions and magazines, they've spent years and years to look that way. They're actually trying to look that way, and it's a lot of hard work. You're not going to pick up a pink butt dumbbell and suddenly boom, spread out and start looking like Arnold Schwarzenegger. It's much harder than that. I hope that you all have learned a few tips along the way that can help you on your journey. So it's important. We need to move it, work those big muscles, some of them bigger than others. We need to work on quality and quantity and step away from, let's limit the peanut butter cookies in the protein department. And most importantly, when those things help get you results, get clothing that fits you well so that you can show off your results and not show off more than you were planning on.
Thank you very much, Kathy. Generation X, Y, Z, check your pants, please. Ben Keach.
I've never been told to check my pants twice, and now I'm a little nervous. So I was like 8 years old, and there's this girl, Kristen Wood. It's her real name, hopefully. Don't stalk her on Facebook and tell her about this story, because she probably doesn't know. But she was super cute, and I was like, kind of as whatever, however an 8-year-old might like somebody, I was like, okay? And I would try to talk to her, and she was kind of looking at me, and, you know, I felt like maybe there was even a smile coming out of her face. So, of course, I'm like, however my brain thinks, this seems like it's a good thing. And then almost a laugh. And I wanted to be funny, but I didn't really think I was being funny. Turns out then a couple other people started laughing. My face was getting red, getting a little nervous. Well, come to find out it was that fateful situation where my zipper wasn't where it was supposed to be, and little kids pointing, laughing, and like, what do you do? Like, my life was basically over at that point. Because I mean, I wasn't like the other story. I think I was properly attired underneath, but still, nevertheless, an 8-year-old is petrified. But when I think of XYZ, the other thing that I think about is Generation X, Generation Y, Generation Z. For all of you at home, Generation Y is also millennials, but we're gonna go with the XYZ theme based upon my Kristen Wood story earlier. So just go with me. So what generation's better? Worse? Who's annoying? What's like, how do we process these things? There's all sorts of information out there about these folks, and we represent that. Even maybe a few baby boomers, but we're leaving them out of this story for today. Sorry. Generation X, I think it's good to like take 6 questions and take these 6 questions and then try to kind of make sense about it to understand each generation. Hopefully there's no bias in what I'm telling you guys, but you guys will get it in a second. So first question is this: did you drink water out of a hose? Generation X. Not only did I drink water out of a hose, but I turned it on and I love that little brown stuff that came out at first. Like, I felt like it made me stronger and tougher. Maybe it's true for you, maybe not, it's okay. Generation Y. Drinking out of a hose is really disgusting. I would never think of doing such a thing. It's probably unhealthy and there's bad things that happen, and the hose is actually probably in the dirt. No, I'm not drinking out of a hose. Generation Z. We only drink out of water bottles or filtrated systems. I don't even know where my hose is. Is that out? What are we talking about right now? Next subject, please. Okay. Question number 2. Did you get any fist fights when you were a kid? Generation X. As a matter of fact, I did. My record's 3 and 2. I distributed a few black eyes. I did get a bloody nose once. I walked home with friends from the guy that beat me up once. We would never hit women, though, of course, because we're respectable. Boys just beat up boys, because that's what we do. We love watching the fights, so we get around and root. Yes, we love fist fights. Fist fights are good. Rocky is my favorite movie. Generation Y. We use our words for conflict. We do not engage in such barbaric activities. Yes, we play violent video games, and we do all those things there, but in real life, we are calm, cool, and collected. We would never do such a thing. Generation Z. We love to cyberbully people. Why would we ever even consider hitting people? I can make fun of them on Facebook and social media all day long. No, no fist fights, just behind the scenes. Keyboard warriors. Question 3. Was your generation coddled? Generation X. Coddled? We're tough. We make things happen. We will pull ourselves up from our bootstraps. Coddled? Heck no, we're not coddled. We're tough individuals. Generation Y. We believe in kind of a higher place of thinking than just, like, coddled isn't necessarily bad. We try to come up with mediation and proper ethical ways to look at life, and not everybody can do that. Generation Z. Do you mean cuddled? I do still cuddle my mommy. Thank you very much. Weird. Okay. Question number 4. Okay. What do you think about other people's opinion? Generation X. I'll listen. Everybody's got free speech. You can say whatever you want. I could care less what you say. I'm going to say what I want to say. You like it, you like it. You don't, you don't. I'll listen to you. Generation Y. What does the group think about this? What's kind of the big picture in this? It's not really about the individual as much as just like, what does everybody else think about this? Generation Z. If you don't like my opinion, I'm going to kill you. you're evil, you're probably related to Adolf, and I don't like you very much because your opinion doesn't match with mine. I mean, I'm joking there. I don't think anybody really wants to kill you. Even like the killing part, sorry, that's too much for you. Question number 5. Walking everywhere. Yes, Generation X. We walked to school. We walked to the store. We walked until the sun went down. Yes, we walked and did whatever we wanted. Did our parents know where we are? No. Generation Y. When I rode my bicycle, I had a helmet on always, and I stayed in the bike lanes, and I knew I had 30 minutes for my exercise and where I was supposed to go, and my mom and dad had to be able to see me where I went. Generation Y. Generation Z. I don't walk to school, but you live 2 blocks away. Like I said, I don't walk to school. Bad things can happen between there and here. No, I don't walk to the store because, my parents just drive me there whenever I want to go. If I need something, they just take me always because they're always at my beck and call. Now, I do walk at my indoor track at my local fitness club. I do that all the time when I get my steps in and my miles in. Question number 6, buying a candy bar. How do they pay for it? Generation X. I did look under the sofa for change. I did shovel 3 driveways for 42 cents a piece at 8 foot of snow. I earned my own money, and yes, I will pay for my own candy bar or 2. Thank you very much. Generation Y. I get an allowance for being alive, and I use that allowance to buy stuff when my parents decide not to. Generation Z. I have a spending card that my parents keep always up to date, and whenever I need anything, I use it there. These are all obviously funny, ridiculous stereotypes that have truth and not very much truth in them. The bottom line and the reality of the situation is Generation X, Y, and Z are all a result of each other and their experiences and how they perceive their life, what things look like, what things don't look like in terms of how they lived. And there's obviously not one general stereotype, but I will say this quickly in closing, and that Generation X, they suffered through divorce for the first time, being latchkey children. They became tough, rugged, individual people because they had to. Generation Y believed in collaboration and optimism, and yes, they moved around jobs, but they had the freedom to do it. They weren't gonna get stuck in the same job for 40 years that their dad hated his whole entire life. And Generation Z wants to make a difference. They believe in social change. They believe that the status quo doesn't have to mean the same thing for everybody. They want real change. There's wonderful things about all 3 of these generations. And thank you for your time, folks. Appreciate it.
Shed Mayberry, girls have cooties. Girls have cooties. Shed Mayberry.
Cootie man! Cootie man! Cootie man! From the time that I came into this world until 10 years old, that is what I heard in my life. Growing up around nothing but female cousins, I was the only male. I thought I could run to my grandmother for help. Cootie boy, even from my grandmother. My cousin who was throwing the shot put for the high school team, I ran to her for protection. Cootie boy. Growing up, I was always heard, boys have cooties. Don't kiss the boys because they have cooties. Well, for all the men in the room and online, we've been hoodwinked. We've been bamboozled. We've been tricked. Girls have cooties. And I'm gonna tell you why. You're gonna believe that at the end of my story. Audience is free to participate, so please do. When I walked into my high school, we had a lot of females. It was a couple of guys, but I was well known in my neighborhood. Here comes Shed. He has cooties. On this side of the room, boys have cooties. Coming up, I said, okay, how can I get rid of these cooties? Born in the 60s, growing up in the 70s was hard enough. But to think that you have cooties, wow, how can I go through life having cooties? So I thought, I watched my female cousins, what were they doing to get rid of cooties? So when I would come in from playing down in the creek, or outside playing kickball, or rolling around in the dirt playing marbles, I would come in, my grandmother says, take a bath. And this is what she gave me to fight cooties. 1 bar of soap. So I would go, shower, trying to get rid of all these cooties. This 1 bar of soap is not doing it. But my female cousins, they would come in with their different shampoos, their different body lotions, different hair products. If I have cooties and all I have to fight is just 1 bar of soap, then what are they fighting with all these other products? So then I thought, okay, maybe it's not the products, maybe it's just me. Back in the 70s, we had the nice hairstyle, the nice clothing. So maybe if I shaved off all my hair. So I went, shaved off all my hair, and thought, okay, that's gonna get rid of the cooties. But still, when I would come into the room, boys have cooties. Boys have cooties. Shed has cooties. What can I do next? So I grew my hair back out. You know what? I love my hair. But this time, my cousins was getting older, so they dyed it. So I said, okay, you know what? Let me dye my hair. Maybe that's going to get rid of it. Dye it to a different color. Still, shed has cooties. So with me doing all of this fighting with my 1 bar of soap, while they have all of these other products, cutting my hair off, changing my hair, and I think that I still have cooties. Well, I tell you, girls are the ones that have cooties. You have all of these other products that you need to fight the cooties. So growing up, we think about words that are hurting us. And as we go forward, think about the different generations. I grew up in the 60s, the 70s, and I could take it. You know, men were men back then, right? We walk in, we could take whatever was coming to us. My son today, if you was to tell him he had cooties, he'd probably just break down and cry and go into a fetal position. All right? So we think about these words, and cooties, which if anyone does not know growing up, it is a fictional term. It is not real. I didn't learn this until after the age of 10. I thought for sure I had these cooties all over me, all in me. But this is an imaginary term said to infect another person of the opposite sex, and someone that is considered socially undesirable. Now, I didn't consider myself socially undesirable because I know how I was even as a kid and how I am now. But to make up this word to try to crush someone was totally not needed. I found out later also as I traveled around the world, this is not only used in the United States. I went to Germany for 12 years, I heard boys have cooties, but it was just in a different language. All right? So this is a term that is used all around the world. So if you haven't heard it, be blessed. But if you have heard it, and for the gentleman who goes through life, boys have cooties, well, I'm here to tell you, pull off the mask, pull off the bamboozlement. We have been tricked, men. Girls have cooties. And that's where we should go forward. Thank you.
Joshua Thino, helping through humor. Helping through humor, Joshua Thino.
Disclaimer. Today I'm going to talk about a death in the family, cancer, and near-death experiences. I hope you enjoy. In 2010, my grandmother passed away. And instead of concerning about her death, I remembered her life. Like, she was one of those classic old lady drivers that you see in the movies. Hands at 10 o'clock and 2 o'clock. Head at 11:45. She always had a tendency of going left. And regardless of what time of the year it was, it could be aliens, it could be hurricanes, tornadoes, summer, raining, sleet, doesn't matter. Her entire window is down. Yet, not a single hair on her head moved. But she always wanted to go to the movies. She'd always take the grandkids to the movies. She'd call it the show. But she hated the concession stands. Cost too much. So my grandmother would make like 12 hot dogs, 6 bags of popcorn, 3 2-liters of soda. And she'd take out Macy's bags and Sears bags that she got specifically for this purpose and put them in there. She would then debrief us before walking in. Okay, what I want you to do is go straight ahead. Do not look left or right. Whatever you do, do not look left or right. We're gonna go to Theater 12 and then take a left. Don't look at anybody, look right at me. Any questions? Yeah, Grandma. What happens if they stop us? I'll tell them I'm old. And I remember my grandmother through these stories. But enough about somebody who is dead. How about somebody who had cancer? My best friend, his name is Aaron Christensen. He was diagnosed with Hodgkin's lymphoma. And I was devastated. He was my roommate at the time. So I stayed home that day with him, trying to make him feel better. And I thought to myself, there's gotta be something I can do here. I know, I'll check his horoscope. Hey Aaron, what's your astrology sign? He walks over, punches me in the shoulder, and says, Cancer, you jerk. I actually told that story at his wedding, not terribly long ago. And we all laugh about it to this very day. It helps him through his time going through chemo. And he is now 10 to 15 years cancer-free. I lost track. But enough about a friend nearly dying. How about me nearly dying? So, people know, or may not know, I'm former military. I think you can tell because of the hair. And I did a tour in Afghanistan and I got shot at! You know what my first response was when I got shot at? It was, no blood. They missed. Oh, thank God they don't play Halo better. But not only was I doing a tour in Afghanistan, I also jumped out of airplanes. And don't you dare tell me they're perfectly good. One time, I was going and doing a combat job, including a rubber ducky, which is a fake rifle made of rubber, and 45 pounds worth of rucksacks hanging from my waist so they swayed surprisingly close to the family jewels. And so I'm waddling, more like a penguin than anything else, towards an airplane. And there's 2 mechanics on said airplane. And one looks to another and goes, hey man, do you know what that is? The other one says, nah, it'll be fine though. Sergeant, can I be the first one out of the plane, please? No? Second? Okay, third? Good, I can be third. And jumping out of an airplane is really interesting. Because you'll see basically the ground going by. It looks like a television screen. And you're just waiting, hoping not to get knocked out by accident. And then you hear go. And my first response in all of this is as follows. Please work, please work, please work, please work, please work, please. Woo-hoo! Oh, the hard part's done. No, it's not. I still gotta land. And you're supposed to land in a very specific style. It's called a parachute landing fall. Whoever decided the name must have made it up that day and it never got checked. And it goes from balls of feet, to calf, to thigh, to buttocks, to pull-up muscle as they call it, or side. And on a side note, if you've ever heard anybody call out, pull your head from your 4th point of contact, that's why. But the thing about this is we don't actually land that way. We usually go feet, butt, head. And that's why I limp. But with all of these stories, from the death of a grandparent to a friend getting cancer, to me surviving possible near-death experiences, I found it helps me to laugh. And that if you turned some of your worst moments into jokes, maybe you can laugh at it too. And that way you'd be helping with humor. Thank you.
Lauren Penland, technology. Technology, Lauren Penland.
Tim, the remote won't work again, and before you ask, I changed the batteries. Tim is my husband, by the way. Walks up the stairs, takes the remotes. I'll be right back. I hear him walking down the stairs, rumbling through the drawer. Then I hear, Lauren, it was bad batteries and the wrong remote for that TV. Well, Tim, you are Chief Technology Officer of our home. I break things and you fix them. Fellow Toastmasters friends, judges, and contest master, I am technologically inept. That following Monday, I had a meeting at church for a group I'm a part of, and we had a speaker coming. And Deb is our vivacious leader. She believes in everybody. And she said, Mark, we will put you in charge of the food. Susan, we'll put you in charge of all of the scheduling. And Lauren, we'll put you in charge of technology. Deb, just because I am the youngest person here by a lot does not mean I am the most technologically qualified. And can you tell me what's required for running the technology? Well, there's a mic, there's a sound system, there's a video system, and you have to record it and upload it to YouTube. Deb, I said, I can't even get a Zoom meeting started at work or use a remote correctly. I don't think that I'm qualified for this. She said, Lauren, I have faith in you. You can do this and you will be successful. Plus, none of else can do it either. I drive home that evening and I see my husband, Tim. And I say, Tim, they made me technology officer of our group at church. And he laughed harder in those 5 seconds than he has the entire 10 years we've been married. He said, good luck with that, and walked away. And any spouse in here knows, if your husband thinks you can't do it, it is your mission to prove them wrong. So the next day, I find out who is the real technology officer at our church. Her name is Katie. I send her an email. Hey Katie, it's Lauren. We have an event in a few weeks. I don't know how to use the mics. Can you help me? No response. So I send that follow-up email. Hey Kate, how's it going? It's Lauren. We have an event coming up. I know you can't attend, but I need help. Still no response. So what does any insane person do? You stalk them legally. So the next Sunday at church, I'm in the back row, and those of here with kids know you sit in the back row. Because my kid yells poopy during the Lord's Prayer, so we have to leave pretty quick. And I look for Katie. I don't see her anyway. So I bust out early because I sit in the back row, and I still can't find her. So I ask around, have you seen Katie? Have you seen Katie? And one poor soul says, oh, she went upstairs. Perfect. I run up those stairs so fast, I see her at the end of the hallway, and I say, Katie, are you able to help me? And just dread comes down her because she knew I found her. And she said, Lauren, I'm busy. And I said, I understand, I respect you, but if you don't help me, I'm gonna break something. Okay. So the next day I show up to learn. I have a red pen and a spiral. And we walk up the stairs to the room with the technology. And she says, are you ready? And I say, Katie, I've been waiting for weeks. I'm bored ready. She says, you go like this. You press this button, this button, this button, open it up, and then you do this, but don't press these, and all the way through. And I'm taking notes. She looks at my notes, like, oh, they make sense to me, don't worry. I know how to do this. She's okay. She turns it off and says, Lauren, give it a shot. And I go, press this button, lift it up, and then press this, but don't press these. She goes, oh wow, that was really good. Yeah, I have great memory. My husband loves it about me. She's like, cool. But as it goes on, I feel like I'm understanding how to zoom in, how to zoom out, and I feel confident. And as I walk down the stairs and I drive home, I spend the next 4 weeks, as us perfectionists do, thinking, what could go wrong and how can I prevent it? At the night of the event, I got there an hour and a half early and I pulled out my inner Toastmaster. I found the speaker and I said, hey, what's your speaking style? Do you walk back and forth? Do you stand still? I want to make sure I capture you in the video. And then I asked her, what kind of mic do you like? Handheld, over the ear, a lapel? She was impressed. Toastmaster test passed. I'm upstairs doing the video. I got it turned on okay. The mics work. Sometimes I zoom in too much. Sometimes I zoom the wrong way and miss her. But overall, it was pretty successful. I walked downstairs and say, you did a great job. And she said, you did too. And I said, if it weren't for Deb believing in me, unlike my husband, I would not have been successful. I also thank Katie too, because she gave me the rights to touch the technology. Fellow Toastmasters and friends, next time you're asked to do something you don't know how to do, just try it. Believe in yourself and allow others to believe in you. And last but not least, I recommend you all label your remotes to avoid the troubles we have in our house. Mr. Contest Master.
Thank you. Our next and final contestant is Jerome Montgomery. Jerome, would you please come up and make sure we can keep you in frame since you're the tallest of all of us? And then we can hear you.
What do you call a wreath lined with $100 bills? Aretha Franklin.
I was thinking mine, but everybody ready? Jerome Montgomery, embracing my speaking style, Jerome Montgomery.
Why are you all sweaty? I'd like to take you back to my high school years, particularly one moment in class, math class, if you will, my favorite class. It was my favorite class because we had our instructor or our teacher with some chalk on the blackboard, writing out formulas. Something about the sound of chalk hitting a whiteboard just is very soothing to me for some reason. I'm weird, that's fine. And then after the fact, you get to go and clean the whiteboard with the erasers. And if someone really was trying to tease you in class, because it was high school, you could take the 2 erasers and puff a cloud of smoke at them, or puff a dust of chalk at them. I'm sitting there, I'm sweating. I just came back from basketball practice, the session before math class. Next to me is a teammate, Mike. Why are you all sweaty? Mike, we just got out of basketball practice. Like, it's all right, my energy's trying to come down, I'm trying to learn here, so please. Yeah, but I'm not sweaty, but you're all sweaty. Okay, yeah, I got it. Thanks. Acknowledged. I bring this up because I notice a trend about myself as I start to speak and I become more aware of some mannerisms that I have. When I start to speak, or in any speaking conversation, whether it's Zoom, in person, what have you, I sweat. I discovered this in my Toastmasters journey about 6 years ago. Got in front of everybody, wasn't nervous, didn't know what I was going to talk about, But I just noticed myself, my internal body temperature started to rise. And my internal operator is like, what's going on? What are you doing? Who touched the thermostat? Turn that down. Beads of sweat start to come down my head. And this doesn't all just happen in front of a live audience. It also happens in one-on-one conversations. I was having a chat with a friend, and out of nowhere, it was a cool environment. About 5 minutes into the conversation, drip, drip, drip. Like, I'm trying to stay cool, calm, and collected on the exterior, of course. But inside, I'm like, what are you doing? Why are you sweating? You're not nervous. What's going on? Fortunately, in the Zoom setting, I can hide this. I can sit down in front of a camera, have our conversations, exchange dialogue, and when I get up, whoo! Oh, I can go change shirts. Drenched. I find it amusing, and maybe this is karma. When I was a kid, in church, we went to this one church in particular that had a very engaging and eccentric, if you will, speaker for the day. I'm not sure if he was a pastor or whatever, but he was the spokesman for that day. I was probably 3 or 4, but I didn't know any better. Very impressionable at that age. He had this interesting speaking style. Every so often, he would bark. Yes, you heard me correct. He would bark. Here's an example. This morning, I appreciate the sun, the wind. And so as he's doing this his entire sermon. So as an impressionable 2 to 3-year-old, I start barking in church. So every time he'd bark, I'd bark. And my mom's like, stop that! You don't see what's going on here? And then I would see other speakers and presenters. When they're presenting and sharing, they will start to, sweat. They have their sweat rag, if you will, up there just to keep them calm, cool, and collected. As a kid growing up, observing this, not experiencing for myself, like, is it hot up there? I know it's like, at the time I grew up in Florida, I was living in Florida. I'm like, I know it's warm, it's hot, Florida, whatever. Why is he sweating? He's the only one who's sweating. I don't understand it. Maybe it's the lights. As a speaker now, I understand. It could be the lights. It could just be you being really excited or passionate about whatever you're sharing. So that's my speaking style. If you see me starting to sweat as I'm sharing or we're conversing, it's not that I'm nervous. My body just likes to freak out and keep me on my toes and hit the panic button. All right, he's talking to someone again. Raise the temperature up, make him sweat. It's like, why? Why would you have this external display of whatever to share with everyone? But over the years, I used to be nervous, ashamed, and embarrassed about it. But I've learned to embrace it. Now I am always prepared. I have my own cloth to keep me dry. And I will share that openly with everyone else so that you can also embrace your communication style, your speaking style, whether you bark or you sweat, whatever your communication style. I encourage others to embrace it and not be ashamed of it. I'll take you back to my high school class. Jerome, we're halfway through the class and you're still sweating. I know, I am very much aware. Hey, Mr. Montgomery, do you want to teach the class? Sorry, teacher. Dude, you're really going at it right now. Please, I'm not trying to get in trouble here. Mr. Montgomery, one more word out of you and you got detention. That's fair. That's fair. Trump, it's really coming out of you right now. Why is that? Because your breath is hot and stinky. Mr. Montgomery, that is no way to speak to a classmate. You have detention. Look what you did now. I have detention. I say all that to say, embrace the uniqueness that you have. Try to keep your cool. And one day you can inspire others to embrace their own. Thank you.
How about a round of applause for these 8 wonderful speakers? Thank you all. Timers, you can have 10 minutes. We will go ahead and take a full 10-minute break to make sure our judges have plenty of time to tally all of their ballots and get them into our chief judge and ballot counters. Thank you very much. It's my pleasure now to welcome Barb Grenade, who will be conducting the general evaluation session of our meeting. Barb, take it away. I'll dim the light so we can see you a bit better.
Excellent. Well, thank you, everyone. It is always a pleasure to hear speeches, see our fellow Toastmasters, and learn. And that's what today's portion of the evaluations are going to do. So let me tell you a little bit about the type of evaluations we'll be doing, and then we'll have evaluators for each one of our speakers. So first of all, A Taste of Success, the club sponsoring this, is an advanced club, and we chose a few years ago to develop stronger evaluations for the speakers, because it's benefited both the speaker and the evaluators. It gave more meat to our speakers that they could take away and develop, as well as developing evaluation skills. And we teach it and focus it on 2 specific areas, and that is physical content and message content. Now, evaluators have 3 to 5 minutes for evaluations, and on our club meetings, a speaker may have one person do the 1 to 2 minute physical evaluation, where they focus on the physical content, such as what did you see? How did the speaker use their space, their gestures, their eye contact, their demeanor, voice inflections? And then a second evaluator will focus on the message content. What did you hear? How did it make you feel? Did you get the message? How did it flow? How were the bridges managed, supported word structure, and the opening body and conclusion? We can have one evaluator do both parts, which is what we're going to have today. So for our speaking order, we're going to follow the speaking order, and the evaluators will be offering the one-on-one evaluations to the speakers. Now, there's 2 things I'm going to ask. Keep in mind, if you want, particularly it's easy online to take notes, but even in the audience, if you jot down notes that you can give to the speakers and to the evaluators about something that they've learned or something they were confused on, because Toastmasters is about learning, and that's one of the points of doing evaluations, not only for our speakers, but for our audience members. Now, the timing of our evaluations is 3 to 5 minutes. So you will see green at 3, the yellow at 4, and the red at 5. So for our first evaluation, now Rebecca Cook was our first speaker, and Andre read, which David has pointed out, is also Walter, but I believe it's Andre actually doing the evaluation. Mr. Andre, would you please unmute, show your face, and get ready to evaluate Rebecca Cook.
Rebecca Cook. Can I see Rebecca's face? Zoom master.
Do I need to stand here or here?
How about here?
Does this work? Yeah, come on.
Hunger Games.
Rebecca, always fun to hear Rebecca speak. Why? Because she is so animated, and when I say animated, I want to be very specific. I don't want to be general with you. You use your instrument so well, Rebecca, your eyes. And when you say these things like, can you believe it? You're good at moving your head to the side and doing things with your eyes. I love how your words paint a picture. I could just see that mischievous 2012 climbing up on the chairs and reaching up, and you're just thinking, oh my goodness, what is going on? And then and I love how crafty she is, and she just let you thought you were sneaking in real quiet. I love how you change your voice tone and you say it real quiet. You can hardly hear you. And then, bam, the crinkle of the brown paper bag. She gotcha. I mean, all of those things, I think of a speaker as a maestro of an orchestra of one. And you use your instruments so well, you know when to bring them in, you know when to quiet them down. You take us on this roller coaster ride where you learn how to pause and you learn how to be quiet when you need to be quiet. And you know how to get big. And so you do that so well. I learned from you that really, I said, this title of the speech could almost be BCAC. Before children, after children. And so I love how you didn't place so much emphasis on what you wanted them to be, but how you really talk to us about who they are and how with each child, it seemed like you got a little bit more chilled as a parent. And so there were it was like a movie we were seeing before us. The thing that I would say to you that I enjoyed the most was how you just eased the humor in and how you did these little subtle things that made such an impact. Again, great job on the pauses. When you made those points where you knew we needed to laugh or get it, you did these very strategic pauses, and so great job on that. The one thing that I would challenge you to do is, first of all, you're open on Rebecca from the standpoint of, we were like, okay, I don't know exactly what she's gonna say, but give me more, give me more, give me more. You brought it back where I really thought it had something to do almost with variety in the spice of life. You know, each child is different, each child brings something different to the family dynamic, never a dull moment in the home. At the same time, each child has brought something out of it. And so, closing, I'd like to see something like with this pow effect, maybe variety is the spice of life, or, you know, I survived, whatever the case may be. But always a good time with you, Rebecca. We loved learning about the children. We love learning what you've learned through the children, and your animation and the way you use, I said, those instruments and those eyes and all of those body parts just takes it to a whole nother level. So another job well done. Really, really, really enjoyed it, and always look forward to hearing Rebecca.
Thank you, Andre. Yeah.
Thank you, Master Evaluator Andre. For our next speaker, would Darren please come to the front of the room, because Mike Edwards will be providing your evaluation. And Mike, if you're in the room, you can both come up and shake hands and be together. That's perfect. Excellent. Mike, would you please take it away?
I'm going to apologize first because I have a flight in 53 minutes. So if I talk too fast, you get it. So I really appreciate this story, your speech. I was so intrigued when I heard that title, Time Flies. And then when you came up and said, when you're having fun, I'm like, where is he going with this speech? And then he gave it to us. He was talking about going on a flight. And Darren, you did really well when talking about this, because those of us who have the fortunate ability to fly for our job, and I am really saying with these quotation marks here, we understand a lot of those things that you made us feel as you went through your story. You're talking about those flight delays, talking about setting up that flight, that 53 minutes between flights where you have to go and actually do something or be concerned about the flight that's coming in. Will I make my connection? That all came out through your story, how you described it. And then you also made us feel something as well when you start talking about going to the airport. And I've been to the Charlotte airport. I know what you're talking about. Sitting in those chairs, being able to rock away and just wait for your flight. And you're like, yeah, this is the life. This is great. I enjoy it. And then you gave us some humor that really had us feel it. And I think the thing I want to caution you on about that is sometimes it's that cultural reference that may not flow with everyone. I mean, Forrest Gump. I mean, how many of us have seen that movie? But there may be some younger crowd who have not seen that movie and don't understand the reference to run, Forrest, run, or even the first Bush. I mean, there was a Bush before that? W? Okay, so we want to be careful about our cultural references, but it does help. And it was funny. It's something that really got us in. What did I saw? You used this frame perfectly, and I'm able to sit, of course I'm sitting next to the Zoom master as well as being able to see the computer over here, and you were in the screen. I mean, you used position yourself, used hand movements that came up. I wasn't able to see your facial gestures as well, but you did move into the camera, and I thought, yes, he realizes he has an audience here that he's trying to play to, and yes, he has an audience there on the screen that he's trying to play to, and it really was good. And the specific areas that I want to talk about is the movements, specifically your hand movements. They seem to fit so well as if you were out there on the flight line, directing the plane, getting us to the area, or stewardess, getting us to the seats. You have 2 over the wing, 2 over the front end as we go through there. And then you also gave us the parts concerning, the marching. It was a visual, but it was also something that we felt as you talk about it. It was the marching and the breathing. We heard it, we felt it. And I'm like, I'm glad I don't run anymore. He just brought back so many bad memories for me. So we not only saw the image and heard the image that you were telling it, some of us even felt the story as you were telling it, as you're going through and trying to get us through this particular flight. So great story, great imagery, had us, or at least had me feeling at what you were experiencing as you were trying to make your flight and get there. The only thing I will have, and I said, yes, I came, I learned, I had a chance to laugh today, and I actually learned something. And I plan to go forward and actually take your attitude about this, that, hey, time's gonna fly anyway, might as well have fun. But I'm really going to have a hard time next week when I'm sitting at that dentist chair and thinking that same thing. So thank you so much.
Thank you both, Mike and Darren. Yes, Darren, we're going to compare notes because I just flew back from Vancouver, and yes, from Edmonton, and I definitely have a speech about that one. So, Miss Kathy, can you please highlight Kathy and I online Zoom Master? Because I have the pleasure of evaluating Kathy's speech. With your clear and specific descriptions of people in your coaching career, my smile muscles got a workout this morning. So I'm going to break it down a little more into physical and message content. So physically, what I thought you did well. First of all, you stood out as a speaker. White shirt against a black background. That always bodes well because we can see what you do in a clearer manner, okay? And gestures that work, peeking out at the commando guy, I could see why you would do it and you would do it and I would do that. So I love that. And I could actually see my favorite gestures you did was you're working out in the gym and talking to people. That was a great visual because I've done that. And I've seen other people do that. So it put us right in the story. And you used your hands and body to emphasize points when talking to other people or when they were talking, how you moved and addressed it that way. So there was no doubt who you were talking to or about, or if they were talking. That was clear. Now, as for the message, you gave background about how you got to this point and set up your story. You know, I lost 100 pounds, I decided to become a life coach, and this is what I've done. So by doing that, you establish your credibility. So we're going to believe what you talked about. I loved your examples of comparisons. Almonds to Big Mac. I don't know if I'll see almonds when I look at Big Mac or vice versa, but it worked, and peanut butter is a go-to of mine. I don't have them in cookies, but I just don't want to know the calories in peanut butter. How's that? Okay? Now, by establishing your credibility, you made your stories more believable and, more importantly, understandable. And you had very specific examples. 1/4 cup, and you had a small hand. It is. 1/4 cup of almonds is 200 calories. This showed you knew your stuff. So I'm going to believe what you say. And you had great examples that anyone thinking of physical betterment could relate to. And you gave examples of both men and women. So everybody could. Now here's what I think you can build on. Knowing where the camera lens is, because we like to look at people, especially when you want to make key points, okay? There's only 200 calories in this, okay? So know where that lens is and direct it at that lens. And where the red weight was easy to see, when virtual, when you held the cupcake, you'd have to hold it up and hold it a second or two longer so that it would focus on it before you take it away. And then at the end, I thought instead of putting the hand in front of your mouth as it really muffled your speech, you could have done this or something to get the same idea across, but leave your mouth open. And for your message content, I would like to see you slow down at the key points. Strengthen your voice and emphasize each word when you want to make that impact point. For instance, you cannot spot reduce. I'm going to remember that, okay? Ab muscles are very, very small. Okay, I've got it. And if you're giving a humorous speech, here's a suggestion that could go to a lot of people. Try and think of a funny title to set up your speech where your audience starts laughing when you're introduced. Shed did a great example of that today. So, and it just sets the psychology. Okay? I don't have a title for you. You'd have to think about that one. Now, here's the best one. Amongst the stories of your experience, you had great nuggets of information. Working big muscles when you address the whole spot reducing and the quality and quantity deal. There were some great points in there, and I've been a gym rat for years, and I got stuff out of your speech. Now, here's the challenge for you, and I think you can do this. To do a version of this speech again in a tall tales contest, where you can really exaggerate the foibles of the people you deal with. This guy came in with a spot like this, and I wanted gone with what little exercise can I do in a week, you know? You could have so much fun with this content because you know your stuff. Well done, and I'll think of you every time I go to the gym, Kathy. Excellent. So for our next speaker, we're going to ask Ben Keach to come to the front, and Mary Nord will be doing his evaluation. May we spotlight that? Both of them are in the room. This should be fun.
Ben Keach, I'm Mary Nord.
Hi.
It is nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you, Mary.
I really enjoyed your speech. Let's start with your physical presence. You had the lectern. You already know everything you need to know about public speaking. You do not need to hide your energy in front of anything.
Okay.
It's your story. It's coming out of you. It belongs to you. You don't need this in front of you.
Okay.
Remember that first off. You've already learned everything you need to know about public speaking, and probably everybody will agree with me on this. Check to make your flyers up, and people love to laugh. If you make people laugh right off, you're already in, you're there. I would encourage you for the future, if it's offered to you, to always take a mic and figure out now what kind of mic might be your preference, because a male's voice, and could be stereotyping, don't get me here, but
males have
it's low. Good one from the audience. I had a little bit, I was sitting right there and I was really straining to hear, and I really wanted to hear. Leading me into your message. Really wanted to know what it was. So much so, look at my notes. I've got every XYZ comment that he made wrote down, because I, as a listener, really wanted to know, what is that all about? I noticed that you excluded baby boomers, which is me.
I did.
So I was like, wow, look at that. But then you went back and you said, kind of, this is in humor, it might not be, but in humor is truth, in sadness is truth. Something's coming out, it's true. So whether you think it's true or not, it is a perspective in laughter that really helped me. And honestly, I might even go home and keep these and kind of study, like, so that I have understanding. Because as Toastmasters, we're here because we constantly are wanting knowledge and new understanding, and we want to be better.
Right.
So physical, those hands come out of that pocket and believe in who you are. Remember this, you are not giving a speech in college about the Holocaust, okay?
Right.
With somebody judging you.
Right.
Believe in everything that you're saying. It's your story, it's your words. As a Toastmaster, your audience wants to know who you are. You are the keynote speaker when you stand here. And that is what I want to leave you with. Remember that about yourself. Your speech did remind me, some of you might remember a movie with Sylvester Stallone and Sandra Bullock, Demolition Man, where the world had changed. And the evildoers, Sylvester Stallone and Wesley Snipes, I think, they brought him out of cryovac, and they had to come in a world that was like maybe the Z generation. So your knowledge and what you gave to me today was very insightful. It took me back. One of the key phrases to end that up was, be well. Be well, John Spartan, if anybody remembers. So I want to leave you with, remember, everything that comes out of you is your story. Then you won't need to hide behind anything. When you start believing in yourself, you've already checked your presence, stand out there in boldness, and be well, Ben Keach.
Thank you.
Thank you, both of you. Well done. And yes, I'm going to remember some of those points as well. I think I've worked with most of those people. May we please have our next two speakers, people come to the front of the room. That'll be Shed Mayberry and Cheryl Reynolds. Cheryl will be evaluating Jack. Oh, sorry, Shed. Sorry.
All right, I just want to make sure. Who's my timer?
Right here.
Right here.
Oh, right there. I'm looking back there.
It don't shouldn't be that long.
Okay.
I'm not funny.
Well, let me tell you, I just want to start off with a couple of introductory remarks. First of all, there's a very important evaluation going on right now as we speak that impacts both Shed and I. The Longhorns are playing the Wildcats as we speak. So we're going to have to see how that turns out. Personally, I think it's purple all the way, but what can I tell you?
Longhorns.
So, that out of the way, the biggest difficulty I had with Shed's speech was the premise, because I absolutely don't think girls have cooties. I think that was, I was trying to be persuaded and I just wasn't quite getting there, but I will, I'll give you that for the purposes of this conversation. First of all, I thought it was wonderfully nostalgic. For those of us who are baby boomers, do you remember those plastic cooties that you bought in the store, the game, and then you had the legs and you could put them all together with different antennas? I thought it was wonderfully nostalgic. I thought the whole, what I called elementary wars, cousin wars, it was easily identifiable to everybody. We all got relatives or brothers or sisters like that. We all went to school with people like that. Jerome probably brought it up in his speech again too. We always had that classmate, right? That was fun. And the other thing that I thought was the opening sense of irony really grabbed me too. Even Grandma? I mean, really? Grandma? What did you do to your grandma?
I grew up around a number of women. I didn't get to know my grandfathers, but I knew my grandmothers.
So, well, that was a nice set of irony. I also loved, and you used this word choice a couple of times that really I thought fit the whole mood of this speech, bamboozled. What a great word. And that really kind of set a tone of kind of where you went. The prompts, I thought, were a little bit of a mixed bag for me. I'll tell you. Shirt, fabulous, right? We're in the era. The wigs, I'm going to talk about here in just a moment. Some of the other things that came off the table, I got a little lost. I mean, we had the soap for a second, then we had the shampoo for a second, then we had the Cetaphil for a second. And I kind of thought it might have been fun if you'd have brought the soap up in one hand. Let me free up my own hands. In one hand, and then like a little bucket that was like full of all different kinds of things with the other. I thought it might have been more effective than just picking them up one at a time. So I thought about that, but then I loved the wigs. And of course, it isn't a Shed Mayberry speech, especially if there's humor in it, if there isn't a wig somewhere in this speech, right? I mean, it's a character setting tone. But I really wanted you to do more with those. I wanted you to maybe block your speech around those three hairstyles. That whole, and you kind of changed from one to the other in the middle, but I thought it would be fun if you had one at the beginning, and then as your point shifted, then another hairstyle, and then as your third point came around, yet another hairstyle, and I would have blocked the speech along that line a little bit. The only other thing that I had as a suggestion was something that somebody named Barb told me the other night, and so now I'm going to pass it on, is that when you're telling stories, it's nice to have names. So I wanted to know a cousin or two's name. I wanted to know a classmate or two's name that you were having these cootie wars with. I just thought, even if you don't remember them, pick a 60s or 70s name, you could do that. Other than that, it was a lot of fun. I looked forward to this speech all week, and you didn't disappoint. So, thank you, Shed.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. And yes, Shed, sometimes you are funny. So, you can work. For our next evaluation team, Joshua, if you will come to the front. Amy Zentz will be presenting your evaluation. We can spotlight, there she is. Amy, take it away.
Gosh, thank you for competing today. I have not had the privilege of hearing you before today. So I want to start with what I saw. I saw you centered on stage. You used the center of the stage as your focal point and your pivot point, and you stayed there throughout your speech. I saw a lot of great gestures and motions. They were spot on and they matched with your story. I enjoyed your grandma story where you were at the movies. I could really picture that in my mind, especially when grandma got down to the level of the children. I thought that was great. You had a lot of great gestures in your army stories, and I thought that was spot on also. I saw great actions, great motions with purpose. You weren't just aimlessly using the stage as some people do because it's there. You pivoted, stayed in one position, and used gestures with purpose. What I heard, you had a great opening. You hit us with that bang and gave us that this disclaimer. You had 3 distinct topics, and you had 3 examples throughout your story that was relevant to your point. I heard you talking just a bit fast for me. I think it was a little rushed, so I would have liked you to maybe just slow some of your parts down a little. I liked your ending. I thought it tied everything back together. But for me, I kind of felt the ending was a little rushed again. So to challenge you, I would ask that maybe you could summarize your points to the audience and leave them with that message. For example, for you, how did you deal with these traumatic experiences? You dealt with death by talking about the funny times, you dealt with the illness by telling jokes, and you talked about your near-death experience by finding the humor in all of it. Now flip that back to your audience and ask your audience, how can they find the humor in these traumatic events to help them cope with these traumatic events? I think if you could have somehow kind of rounded that out and made that call to action to your audience a little more stronger, it would have put that nice bow on your story for me. I really enjoyed your speech. I thought that this was very appropriate for a humorous speech contest. You are an excellent speaker. I'm sorry I haven't had the chance of hearing you before today. You had great gestures. I saw you move with purpose. And thank you for the laughs today.
Excellent job. And I'm going to ask Lauren to come forward as I have the pleasure of doing her evaluation. Miss Lauren, come to the front and dance if you like. Woo-hoo. Okay, first of all, I was almost back.
I think she's cutting in and out.
To label them. There, are you there?
Yeah, I think I didn't hear the beginning of what you had said. I think you cut out. You froze.
Okay, okay, how is it now?
I think we're good. We're good.
Can you hear me now?
I can hear you now. I can hear you now.
Okay, I was telling you I was almost like coming back from the break because I gathered up all my remotes so I could label them. So that was a good outcome of the speech. I didn't know how many I had. So let's talk about what you did, and I'm going to split it up, physical and message content. The examples of the issues with your remote, you could physically see that you were, it's not working, Tim, help. Okay, that really worked. I couldn't hear when you first whispered to the side though.
Got it.
But it was, I got Tim's name later on. Now, your intensity in delivering the story actually added to the story, particularly when you talked about, I got named the technology officer, and you could see your intensity amp up. That made me think, she's not really comfortable with this. And that was a key point. So for the flow of it, your word usage, I could hear you clearly, could see you. You used your stage really well. And just when I was going to say, you did side to side well, but you didn't use front to back, you stepped forward. Good job, girl. So well done. Message content. Examples of your issues with the remotes beautifully set up you being assigned to the technology officer. And I think that was the best way to do it because we got to see how badly you we're technology to show the contrast. So I thought that was perfect to set it up. And the little aside, oh, and we all know we like to prove that our husbands are wrong. Of course we do. I don't care if it is, sexist or whatever, it's the truth. Now, saying that your husband laughed harder in 5 seconds gave us a point of understanding of how badly technologically challenged you were, because it gave us context. And the flow of your speech made sense. Example from home, then responsible at church. Now I know what you want to hear. What can you build on? So I had trouble hearing some of the quieter points. So you may want to change the tone of your voice rather than the volume. And I thought it would be funny if you, without saying words, mimic using a remote and then calling Tim. Okay. Because it's not working and you build the angst up there. That's good. Now here's the one thing I want you to think about is movement and to balance the intensity, because you have so much energy. But what I found was at one point when you were going back and forth, you appeared to run out of breath. So it may be to think about balance as far as where do I really want to make a point and stop, and then those intents to build on that, show that piece.
That's good.
Okay?
That's good.
Now, with the conclusion, I think it would have helped with a little more bridge between you and the story if you had paused with something like, I was successful in spite of my lack of experience, but learned this.
Okay.
You know, you never know what you can be successful at until you try it. And most importantly, label your remotes. Okay? I think it would have tied it back to the beginning.
Okay.
And here's the last point about this. This was a completely relatable experience, because no matter how technical or challenging it is, they'd be able to relate this both specific to technology, but other areas too. And as the training the other night, I'm Zoom challenged when they update and we can't find things. So we could really relate to this. Now here's a challenge for you, and it's a biggie, okay? To think about, to do this speech in a way with remotes, where you can find points where you point the remote at the screen and mime a word because it's not working, and then pick up another remote, do it, and then you can hear you again. So for a surprise look, and it's a challenge. How do we grow? How do we do something outside our comfort zone? Well done, and yes, I'm labeling my remotes. Thank you, Lauren. And for our final evaluation, we will have Jerome come to the front, and Mr. Andre will be giving his evaluation. Yeah, you want Andre to give it. Where? Andre, where are you?
He's labeling
Hey.
Hey, the
There you are.
screen's big enough for me and Jerome, okay?
Take it away.
All righty. First of all, Mr. Montgomery, it is so good to see you, sir.
Good to see you too, Andre.
I learned so much about you during your speech on today, and that's something that I think is so appealing to an audience. I don't want to just learn about your topic. I want to learn about you. And the word that stands out the most for you today that I learned, you're a very strategic person. And while I'm going to be talking about the physical and the content, it's going to be intertwined. But Jerome, you're a very comfortable speaker. And when you're comfortable like that, it just automatically puts the audience at ease. You talk very conversationally. And something I learned about you today is I can imagine you were that kid that always made fun of people. Why? Because you're so animated today, especially when it dealt with third parties. First of all, you were impersonating your instructor, and you had your glasses, and did all of those things that we think of when we think of the typical professor. And then I loved about this friend of yours. It seems like he was pretty ornery, and he was kind of instigator, and kind of got you in trouble every now and again. And I especially love the scene with you in church, where your mom corrected you because you were barking and like the preacher. I could just see my mom doing something, you know. And so I love that animation added so much entertainment value to your story. I also loved, again, how you worked, Jerome. I saw you making eye contact with different areas of the room, and then you very strategically, because it is a hybrid meeting, make sure that you gave us attention online also. Very, very powerful, very skillful. The thing that you also did that I thought was very strategic was your props. No one knew you had props. Some people had their props kind of laid out, and what do? You wear a hoodie where you can just pull your props out, and so that was very, very strategic, and I thought it made your speech flow very well. The thing that I'm going to say threw me, but as I thought about it, for you, notice that you're in a classroom, your speech, and you ended in a classroom. So what a strategic opportunity for you to talk about how life is just full of lessons. It's one big classroom. And so why not grace your uniqueness and all of those things that you've learned over time, and keep your cool and ultimately inspire others with all the lessons that you've learned. And so, Jerome, like I said, I learned so much about you just based on how you present your speech and all the different pieces that you put in. The last thing I'm going to talk about when I talk about strategic is, I noticed you were doing just a little bit of pacing during your speech. I want you to be very strategic in your movement from the standpoint of make sure that it's relevant and make sure that it's enhancing what you're doing. Overall, though, I mean, my recommendation is I think you should maybe consider running for the trio or something like that. I it'd be very beneficial to the district just on your demonstrations alone, sir. Good to see you. Congratulations. Look forward to hearing you guys in the next round.
Thank you, Andre.
Well done. So we'll hear it more from the people in the room, but let's give a cheer to our evaluators. Excellent examples of what I find as a high level of evaluations throughout our district. A couple of notes. Note to people nervous about evaluations. We didn't start at this level. I'm comfortable doing evaluations, but I've been doing them for 20 years. And just an FYI, my favorite evaluators are my speeches are done by brand new Toastmasters. So don't be afraid to give up and give your thoughts. That's all it is what did I see and feel? Now, 2024 speech contests. This is the year of the International Speech and Evaluation Contest. I cannot compete this year as I'm an area director, so I get to see from a different perspective, and I'm looking forward to seeing a lot of competition. A Taste of Success will be doing evaluation training, although we had a rough session Thursday. We did learn how that you have to update Zoom and there are some settings that have changed, but we will do evaluation training moving into the contest season because it will provide practice for both our speakers and our evaluators. Now, 3 years ago, all of the speakers in the district contest actually had gone at the district level, had gone through the evaluation session and got so much feedback that they found it helped them. So keep that in mind. Welcome to all, and it is my pleasure to turn this over to Mr. Darren Arbuckle.
Thank you very much, Barb. And one other note along the lines that Barb talked about, the international, of course, everybody should take that as an opportunity to try. If you're not sure if you want to compete, every one of those evaluation contests will have to have a target speaker. So it's a way to dip your toes in the contest water. Might keep that in mind for the spring. Now it is time to interview our contestants, announce our winners, and I will turn the show back over to Andre. If all of the speakers in the room could come forward, please. We'll do a quick interview. Well, yeah. We'll do a quick interview session in order of speakers. Unfortunately, Rebecca had to step away. She is a fantastic Toastmaster and a better speaker. I learn something every time I watch her speak. Definitely take that opportunity to watch her when you get a chance. Our next speaker is Darren Yarbrough. We're going to do a very quick, how long have you been in Toastmasters? What clubs do you represent? Please step forward and let us know.
I've been in Toastmasters since 2011, and I'm currently in Springfield Toastmasters, which has been around since 1950. Great club. And I'm also in another wonderful club, the club that is hosting this event, A Taste of Success.
Thank you very much. And if I can remember right, our next speaker is Ben.
Yeah,
Am I next?
Yep.
Okay. My name is Ben Keach. I'm probably just 6 months into Toastmasters, so I'm new. I don't even know the name of my group. I just know it's not Springfield. and I know that Andre and Barb are a part of it, so they're very helpful to me in my journey. So, yeah, that's it.
Thank you very much, Ben. There's an example of a bad contest master. Kathy was actually next. Kathy, would you tell us how long you've been in Toastmasters and what clubs you're a member of?
Well, I originally joined back in 2010, but that was only for about 3 months, and then I rejoined 3 weeks before it. I'm in the Wichita Downtown Toastmasters. I am also honored to be a part of Articulators, and I'm also in an international club called Personal Growth League. Usually meets on Saturday morning. So I meet people from all over the world every week.
Thank you very much, Kathy. Next we have Shed Mayberry, our current immediate past district director.
Yes, sir. I've been in Toastmasters now, just hit 10 years, October. And I feel like I've only been in 7 years. The first 3 years was definitely wasted. I was only into my club, but I love getting out, reaching out, and being networking all over the world. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Hello, I'm Joshua Atheno. I'm out of Empowered to Speak today, even though I have a membership in the Power Cats as well. And I've been in since the beginning of COVID, when I stopped being able to do live magic. I wanted to keep my skills up, and so here I am.
Thank you very much.
I've been in Toastmasters since 2008, so 16 years, and I am part of Overland Park Toastmasters, formerly Masters Toastmasters, and I am part of Smack Toastmasters, an advanced club out of Colorado.
Thank you very much. And last but not least, somebody that knows a little bit about the trio, our current district director, Jerome Montgomery.
Hello, everyone. I've been in Toastmasters since July 2017. I had to look it up, 7/1/17, so I was like, okay, I can't forget that now. I'm a part of Olathe Speakers, and as Dan mentioned, also the district director.
Thank you very much. But another round of applause for all of our speakers. Everyone except Lauren, Shed, and Darren may have a seat. To announce our winners, we'll go in order third, second, and first. Third place, Shed Mayberry.
I'm only competing because my son said I'm never funny.
Whoever wins, congratulations, great job.
Yes.
Great job.
Second place, Darren Yarbrough.
Oh, wow.
And Darren, by the way, is your District 22 Toastmaster of the Year for last year. And our first place winner, Lauren Penn.
Thank you.
Linda has certificates to present. We will present to everyone, but definitely to our first, second, and third place.
Do you want a picture of us?
What do we do?
Yeah, May wants a picture.
All righty, with that, there's a lot of people here in the room and online, which is wonderful to see. Contests are not typically well attended. Usually most of the folks there are making it happen. And along those lines, we had wonderful evaluators. We had a fantastic chief judge, ballot counters, timers, judges, and the chair that made all of this possible, Mr. Andre Red. The floor is back to being yours.
Dan, first of all, congratulations to you for an amazing job as the contest master. How many of y'all know that it takes a village? And so everyone that played a part today, be it you chaired a committee, be it that you came and just shared a laugh with us as a participant and an observer, we want to say thank you to Joanne, Chief Judge, Dan, Contest Master, Stephanie and her team, Cheryl, Zoom Masters, General Evaluator, Barb Grenade, Linda Wilson, the host with the most, who's over our PR, and Terry Burns, who's over our membership. As an advanced club, one of the things that we want to do a better job at is we want to be an extension to the district to help to provide training and provide opportunities that maybe the district just doesn't have the bandwidth to provide. And so look for more of that from us. And if you ever want to just come out and have fun at our meetings, Barb mentioned this earlier, but I would say that my evaluation skill set has sharpened pretty significantly being at ATOS. And the thing I do know is that the better evaluator you are, for some kind of way, I think it makes you the better speaker. But the highlight for me today is I turn this over, Terry Burns, to close us out, is...
Can I still just 1 minute, or actually 3 minutes before we go to Terry? We are fortunate enough to have all three members of the trio in the room. I'd like to give each of them a minute, if they would like to talk about district business. So, Jerome, David,
let's
and
do that. The highlight for me is seeing people that I've not seen in a while, Lauren, and just the list goes on. But so good to see you on today. And I'm going to turn it over to, is it the trio or whoever it is that we're turning it over?
We're coming up.
Good job, everybody.
Throw it to you.
No. Sure. No.
Okay. All right. Well, just a little bit of news from Club Growth. Thanks to some hard work, folks in the district shed. We have another club about ready to charter, and we're working on a third one. Will be the third one for the year. So I've always said I thought this year was the turning point year from COVID, and that we're going to start to see clubs coming back. So I would appreciate your enthusiasm and embracing that. And the ask is that if you work for a company that doesn't have a Toastmasters club, but has employees of 100 or more, give me a holler. Let's talk to them and see if we can get a club going there. We haven't gotten any corporate clubs, or not as many corporate clubs going. Well, no, I take that back. 2 of the 3 are. Never mind, forget that. Corporate clubs are where it's at, but let's work on that. The other thing that I have a list of clubs who qualify for coaches. I would, if you are interested in coaching, please reach out. We're getting ready to calendar a day of training for coaches, sponsors, and mentors. So if you're interested and you don't feel comfortable with that, or you're interested and you do feel comfortable, but you would like to help with some of the training, wherever you are in that coaches, mentors, and sponsors category, let me know so that we can get the district growing and strengthening from building not only new clubs, but strong clubs. And that leads right into the man who's in charge of quality of clubs.
I'm education.
All right, education.
But no, speaking of education, take a look here real quick. Cheryl just mentioned that we are coming out of COVID. This is the third time that the trio has been in person since COVID hit. Wow. So we are coming out of COVID, and we represent just that. Another thing I want to say, it's impossible to do 53 minutes. There he is. It's impossible to do 53 minutes in the Charlotte Douglas International Airport. I was born 2 miles from there. There is a chicken restaurant that's in there in Corridor A, Bojangles. It takes more than 14 minutes to get your order. So remember that. Long stories later on that one. But no. So Cheryl just said she's responsible for clubs and all that. Well, education. That's what I'm responsible for. And I'm going to hit with a low number, and then I'm going to hit on a high point. Last week, we had our Hall of Fame and Leadership Symposium. There were 35 people in attendance. 2 of those people were guests. We have a taste of success, humorous speech. I forget the last term.
Extravaganza.
That word. There's like 50 people in the room and online. I counted because I was impressed that there's more people here than at the Hall of Fame and Leadership Symposium that we put on last weekend. Why do I say that? Well, we need to drum up what's going on in the district a little bit more, in my opinion. So August 29th. Well, yeah, there's probably something going on August 29th. November 29th is the next district scheduled event on our calendar. That is the deck meeting, ran by yours truly here. We will have a educational session on training area directors and division directors for the first phase of club contest, speech contest, so forth that Barb mentioned earlier. In December, we'll have the second phase of that, which will focus also on contests. So of course, you got the contest running, you got the judges running. We haven't figured out which way you're gonna do that yet. And then, why am I saying all this? Why am I taking more than a couple of minutes? Because I'm trying to drum up more business. First weekend of May, or the third weekend of May, will be the district conference. Thank you, the spring conference. I still want to call it the fall conference, but we don't have that anymore. Now, why am I saying this? Because again, I want to drum up business. But not only are we thinking about conferences, we have a not a deck meeting, we have club officer training December 16th. We have club officer training in January. We have club officer training 2 days before Valentine's Day. Yes, I did that on purpose. But Shed and I are also planning next year's spring conference. So
you see what I'm wearing, right? It's a hint.
That is a hint of the theme. And let's just say it's going to be in a location we're hoping that we have never had a conference in District 22 at. So I'll turn it over to Jerome.
What was that?
Think K-State.
So you guys come down to Joplin?
One of these years.
Joplin the year after.
Yeah, maybe next year or the year after. But yes, thank you, David. Thank you, Cheryl, for your wonderful updates and reports. So as district director, I'm responsible for the whole district, making sure everything goes according to plan. And I do have the pleasure as well to recognize those that do good work. So Dan Arbuckle, could you join us here on the stage to accept the award for Club Sponsor of the Year? So it's important to recognize those that do good work. People love recognition, and so with that being said, that's all we really have. We're really trying to grow the district. If you have ideas, thoughts, or some feedback for the work that we're doing, please don't hesitate to share that with us. We do have a venue that we're trying to lock down for the spring conference, which is different than the DoubleTree, just to shake things up a little bit. But that's the goal, to grow, come out of the COVID season and enter this new season hybrid and in person. I love the in-person aspect of it just because it's growing and stretching. I can't hide my sweat behind the camera anymore. And so that being said, I'll turn things over to you, Terry.
Thank you.
Did everyone have fun?
Yes.
Yes. Good. That's what Toastmasters is all about. We learn, we have fun. I'm the membership vice president of A Taste of Success, who hosted this. I've been in Toastmasters since 2014, and I've somehow been talked into being an officer every year since.
Yep.
I was in 6 months and elected Sergeant at Arms in my first club.
Best role in Toastmasters.
Didn't keep that in mind, 6 months.
I'm sorry for that.
And I've enjoyed every minute of it, by the way. We learn, we grow. The evaluations that we had today is a very important part of the Toastmaster program. We start by emphasizing the things that you do well. And then we offer suggestions for small improvements. We have a member who has won the district level 3 times in one of the clubs I'm in. My evaluations of him, in fact, everyone's evaluation of him, a very different level than when you're starting. Because he's at a higher level, well, we expect even more. And he expects suggestions for even better. If you're a beginner, if you're nervous, you're not sure, the fact that you're able to stand up here for 4 to 6 minutes without passing out, throwing up, or both is an accomplishment for some people. We emphasize that and encourage you to take baby steps to get better, a little bit better. The only competition we have is the annual speech contests. Then you're in competition with everyone else. In the Toastmaster meetings, the only competitor you have, who were you at the last meeting? Be that much better. You're not in competition with anyone else. Grow, personal growth. I'm now in 4 clubs. I'm going to ignore one of them because it's in Texas and it's completely online. And it's the company I work with, or I work for.
God.
Pardon me?
That's God's country.
Even Galveston with all the hurricanes?
Alaska's bigger, people.
It's,
The Alaskan girl will tell you.
It's the building is the only skyscraper on Galveston Island, but it was built to withstand hurricanes. Forget them, they're a different district, different group of people. The other 3 clubs that I'm in, ATOS, A Taste of Success, is an advanced club. It's a little bit different. The evaluations are different. The dividing it up into the physical and the content, what I saw, what I heard. That's a little bit different than most clubs. That is a choice that A Taste of Success made years ago. But in all cases, it's growth, a little bit of growth. If you are interested in A Taste of Success, as an advanced club, the only additional requirement, you must have either a competent communicator, competent leader, that's been gone for 3 or 4 years. But if you've earned that, or if you've earned 2 levels of the same path in pathways, and if you're a guest, don't worry about what that means. But if you've earned 2 levels, then you qualify for our membership standards. If you're a guest and you're interested in Toastmasters, see me. We have access to information about the entire district. But I'm online. Andre is going to help me. If you're online, you can go into a breakout room and Andre can answer your questions. He's been a member for a long time. He knows his stuff. And otherwise, if you're interested in A Taste of Success, or you're a guest and you're just interested in Toastmasters, see me, and I'll be happy to answer your questions.
Terry, thank you so much for sharing that. One thing that I did fail to do was to let those who have supported or helped in some way. Now, look for your electronic certificates of appreciation, and also the first, second, and third place winners. Be on the lookout for your electronic gift cards. You will be getting those via email. I have to give a special shout out to this person because she is the ACB, and that is Amy Zentz. Always so good to see everyone, but just so good to see her. She still got it. When she did her evaluation, I said, she still got it. So we're gonna go ahead and adjourn the meeting, but we certainly want to thank you.
Yeah, can I ask one question, quick, Andre?
Yes,
If we have any,
yes, sir.
if we have any guests that have any questions, any guests in attendance that have any questions about the contest or Taste of Success?
Questions or comments?
So if we have that covered, then I think we're good. Other than for Cheryl and Andre, Cheryl and Shed, as a KU fan, it's bad guy 17, other bad guy 0.
I know. We felt bad for the Longhorns today, all I can tell you is.
It's not over yet. Tell them 2 halves.
Exactly. It's not looking good, though.
Good job.
I think that's it then.
All righty. Thank you all so much for attending. Congratulations to all the speakers. You were amazing.